Howdy, everybody. Welcome into the TexAgs Radio Rewind presented by T-Mobile. Yay, T-Mobile. Donnie Hall's in here rubbing his belly. And today on the show, we had Logan Lee talking about Texas A&M Hoops winning their 9th game of the year. We went around the SEC with Sports Talk 790's Chris Gordy. And then we did some recruiting with Ryan Brauninger and Jason Howell. You mentioned recruiting and you mentioned development. Last night you saw what is maybe a coming out party for Manny Obaseki. Of course, he's one of the more exciting prospects in recent Texas A&M basketball history, a 5-star out of Allen, Texas. 19 points, 9 rebounds last night, 6 of 11 from the field. What did you see from Obaseki that really caught your eye?
So the thing that stands out to me is the fact that he only had 3 points in the first half. He didn't get into the game until 11 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the first half. He didn't play the first 8 minutes of the game. That didn't affect him. That didn't affect his mental state and the way he approached playing. I think his first possession, he got a defensive rebound. A&M came down and scored. His second possession on defense, he got a steal. And then I want to say he got a couple more rebounds before even looking at anything on offense. And that's what you want your players to do. You go in, get into the game, don't force up a shot, don't force the action, let the game come to you. It's really hard for a freshman, especially a freshman that came in as highly recruited as he did, to be able to just take his time and let it come to him naturally. And then in the second half, I mean, he exploded. 16 points. I felt like he was everywhere. He continued to play defense. Had a couple of blocks, had a couple of steals. I believe he had an assist. Is that what you said? He had one assist?
He had one assist.
One assist. I mean, he was all over the place. And that's what you want from a guy like that. This is the second game with a freshman leading the team in scoring for the first time in the year. I mean, you had Wade Taylor, who was tremendously efficient in the game against Oregon State. And then you followed up with Manny Obaseki. Obaseki, scoring 19 points in 19 minutes or 20 minutes and only taking 11 shots.
Yeah. TexAgs basketball analyst Logan Lee with us here in the Rollo Insurance studio right now. You mentioned it in your post-game recap that Texas A&M has now won nine games. They've had 7 different leading scorers in those 9 games, with Obaseki being the 7th last night. Him and Wade Taylor have been pretty exciting to watch the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's not just those two. It's the fact that the bench has scored 75 points in the last 2 games. Buzz has to be tremendously pleased with the way the bench has performed. I think it's a double-edged sword, though. You don't want to have to rely on your bench that much. During SEC play, minutes are going to get cut. He's probably not going to rotate as much. And I even talked to him last night in the presser. I asked him, is it hard to game plan for your own team on what you're going to do on offense and defense when you don't know who's going to have the hot hand that night? You don't have a guy that is going to come out and score 15 points and give you 7 rebounds every single night.
I think they do. I think the thing to remember with Alabama is up until the SEC championship game, like keep in mind, the SEC championship game, everybody and their brother was jumping on Georgia. Why were we jumping on Georgia? Well, Georgia looked like the more complete team all season long. Alabama had warts. They had warts all season long. The offensive line was very inconsistent. They didn't protect Bryce Young against Auburn, against LSU. The defense was inconsistent. They gave up long pass plays to Arkansas. It was like they just had all these problems. And in the SEC championship game, all those problems went out the window. They played their best game of the season against their best opponent in Georgia. And so because of that, everybody's back on the bandwagon of, oh, it's Nick Saban, it's Alabama. They're dominant. They're going to sweep everybody, and they're just going to win. And that's not true. That's not the case. And I say that with all due respect to Bryce Young being the Heisman Trophy winner. I felt like this was almost like a Troy Smith type year, where it was like, it was like you were standing at the end of the year going, who was the best player? I mean, I guess him. It wasn't like, oh, absolutely, like with Joe Burrow, absolutely well-deserved, this is the best guy. Bryce Young was like, yeah, I guess he deserved it. I mean, he just had the best performance, beat Georgia. So I say all that to say Alabama's not infallible. Like, they can be beat. And Cincinnati is coming into this game with almost like nothing to lose. Like, they're looking at going, nobody's giving us a chance. Desmond Ridder, keep in mind, has been a really good quarterback for them. They nearly, they were played down to the wire with Georgia just 11 months ago in their bowl game in Atlanta. So I would say Cincinnati can make this a game. They've got two really good cover corners that I think are going to test Alabama. Obviously, I would almost bracket Jameson Williams because John Mechie is hurt and he's going to be out. That's an added dynamic. So I'm not going to call Cincinnati for the upset, but I do think they keep this a closer game than a lot of people are thinking. And again, don't get brainwashed with it's Nick Saban, Alabama. They're just going to roll. No, they played their greatest game in the SEC championship game. They're going to have to play their next greatest game of the year against Cincinnati to win this game because, like I said, they've had problems all year long against, lesser opponents. And, that's why I think a lot of people were not expecting them to beat Georgia. But typically cap to them, they did. I just think Cincinnati can hang around in this game.
I think you save the word perfection for what does it turn into? What do these kids develop into? What does what's A&M able to win down the road because of this recruiting class? I think if it happens at the level that this class can do it, then you start talking about perfection. But you start looking at data points where we got to go to break.
No, finish your thought.
Okay. We start looking at data points of what caused this to happen. Where were the key steps that allowed all this to come together? And I think it started at the pool party in the summer, and then it goes Bama game, Auburn game because of Walter Nolan, right? Evan Stewart commitment, and then I think just the final weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like those at 5 points in a timeline. Pool party, Bama, Auburn, Evan Stewart committing, and then the final weekend of visits. I think those are the 5 key points in time that allowed all this to happen. Now, in between all that, like who gets a piece of the pie, I keep going back to the atmospheres at Kyle Field. So 12th man, pat yourself on the back, give yourself an attaboy because you own some of this because of what you created inside Kyle, the experience that you gave to those kids and those families coming in and seeing Kyle Field after not getting the chance to do that during COVID the year before. You created some of that momentum.
Who's the player that made the biggest surprise commitment to the Aggies?
This one came down to 2 for me, but I'm going with Gabe Brownlow-Dindy after his surprise flip after Martin Abu's announcement the same day. But Gabe Brownlow-Dindy.
I'll go another 3-namer. Give me Marquise Groves-Killebrew.
Yeah.
It's a guy that we barely talked about the entirety of the cycle. And we all started hearing it on signing day, like, hey, they may be about to sign this kid. So that was pretty interesting final few hours of that one.
The Dindy commitment sent us scrambling for computers and phones while we were enjoying oh goodness, Donnie Hall's walking in. While we were enjoying a Mexican dinner in Navasota, and then the Marquise Groves-Killebrew happened at the Christmas party.
Yes,
so that was a lot of fun.
And the other big one for me was Evan Stewart's. We had a feeling that one was coming, but we didn't know when. And Evan just kind of dropped it, on his Instagram by changing his bio. So
I don't know what Donnie Hall was doing.
Jason, you just
rubbing
missed
his belly.
Donnie just came to the door and just started rubbing his belly and looking at Richard.
I think it means he's hungry.
I'm kind of glad I missed it.
Yeah,
I love the Donnie Hall moments, but I'm okay.
I think you might be lunch, Richard.
Yikes. The last superlative to hand out, guys, the top performance with TexAgs in attendance. The top guy you saw on that given day.
Ish Harris, October 22nd, Pilot Point.
He's got
over
dates.
Ponder, 65-14 on homecoming night. 5 carries for 98 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 52 and a touchdown, and 8 tackles on defense.
It's Connor Wigman against Klein Kane to open up the season on ESPN. That was sensational. I don't have the numbers that Jason has. He had 8 total touchdowns in the game. I think he had 5 throwing, 2 rushing, and then 1 receiving.
And this is why he's the senior recruiting analyst. He comes prepared with notes and stats. Jason, Brawny,
I just told you stats.
thanks so much. Well, you didn't.
Hey, if
have
you're
the
out there and you're
official
still
numbers
listening to
to
this,
carries.
go hang out with your family. I don't know what you're doing tuning into this crap.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a
This is
very Merry
crap.
Christmas. Jason, Brawny,
Merry
thanks so
Christmas,
much.
everyone. Love you.
Clip that,
That's gonna be a
Dalton. Yeah, clip that.
that's gonna be a video for sure. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the TexAgs Radio Rewind presented by T-Mobile. If you liked this video, and even if you didn't, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to TexAgs on YouTube, and become a TexAgs Premium subscriber. We'll talk to you tomorrow.